John Woo remakes his 1989 action classic, The Killer, for a modern audience on Peacock. So today, let's talk about the remake of The Killer. Hey everybody, my name is Justin here. I try to watch everything that hits theaters and on streaming services like Peacock. If you guys are like me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and click that notification for more up and coming content. When a feared contract killer refuses to murder a young blind woman on the orders of her handlers, she finds herself hunted by old colleagues and a determined detective. John Woo directed the 1989 action classic The Killer, which starred Chow Yun-fat as our main character. In that film, a young girl, Jenny, is blinded in crossfire of his most recent hit. Feels bad about that, wants to do one more hit so he can get enough money to fix her vision. And he starts to develop the relationship with her, which seems to be a huge focus of that movie. I recently just watched it for the first time. I thought it was really good. And I was very curious to see what John Woo would do with a remake of his own film. And would it be very similar or very different? And he has directed a few English language films like Mission Impossible 2 and most recent one, Silent Night. So he has ventured into American territory. This film has a lot of similarities to the original 1989 film. There is going to be some major differences from our characters to the names to the situations that they are in. But what John Woo does for his 1989 film is have his own sense of style and in turn makes a generic action film. At times I do get the sense of that John Woo classic style to this movie, but a lot of it does feel very familiar. 1989 film, that storyline worked, and now so many years later, it just feels similar and generic. Comes to an assassin that wants to protect somebody. It feels like a storyline that is borrowed. And in this case, it's borrowed from his own film. We have Nathalie Emmanuel, who plays Z, Chow Yun-fat's character. He had a different name. And she essentially is in this same storyline where she's on this hit. A young woman is involved with all of this and she goes blind. But what this film does poorly compared to that 1989 film is that that film focused on how he felt about everything and wanted to correct his wrongs. There's not much time given to the young woman that's injured by all of this and Z. You don't feel any sort of connection between the two. You don't feel any remorse coming from Nathalie Emmanuel's character. She tries to fix what happened. There's no build up to that relationship. They really don't start to be involved with each other until like 40 minutes into the film. And so we have this struggle of connecting these two characters. And at times it does feel a bit forced. And so by backing off a little bit of that storyline, you in turn have more development for Omar Sy's character. He plays this detective, and you have more development for Nathalie Emmanuel's character, Z, and peeling back their characters a little bit, understanding their past and where they are now. There's more focus on their characters rather than certain relationships throughout the film. And Nathalie Emmanuel and Omar Sy are pretty good in here. They have great chemistry. They work alongside each other very well. I do feel like a lot of their scenes came naturally within this movie as some of the conversations they have or their initial meetup and even the action scenes. You have a lot of intensity coming from their performances. And the characters are really good in here. I didn't have any problems so much with the characters, more so with how they were handling them and limiting certain relationships. The action's good. There's a lot of intense action throughout this movie. Motorcycle scenes, car chase scenes, hand-to-hand combat. I think John Woo does a great job directing this film, offering a lot of limited cuts with certain scenes. You're going to have some action scenes that have some cuts and edits, but there are a lot that flows and has a great suspense to it. Sam Worthington plays Z's handler within the film, and I saw where that character was going to go because of the original film. And way that they handle some of the characters and the outcomes, it does feel very similar to that movie. So you're not going to have many surprises along the way. If you have not seen his original film, there might be some surprises with this movie. But as I've already seen it, I knew where Sam Worthington's character was going to go Omar Sy and all of them. And there are some switch ups to the storyline and the characters and names, like I said. So I do appreciate that John Woo was able to do something different while not doing the same exact thing from his movie, because that movie worked with its style, the characters, the relationships, and he was trying to do something a bit different while offering more in-depth look at our characters, limited times with certain relationships, and fun action along the way. It's very unique that John Woo was going to take his own film and remake it. The overall vibe to this movie, it feels like a generic action film. There wasn't anything that truly stood out as a masterclass in acting when it comes from John Woo, who has directed a lot of great action films. And in this case, with this movie, it just feels like anybody might have directed it. There's no sense of style to this movie. At times, you do get that John Woo sense to the movie. It's got a generic vibe to it. I wanted something more from this film in terms of the action and the characters and certain relationships. The runtime was fine, about 2 hours and 8 minutes, I believe, and you have a lot of dedication to the individual characters rather than Z's remorse and regret on her hit and injuring this young woman and trying to help her. There's reveals about who she is very early on, and it doesn't allow that emotional beat to the film, which works so well with Chow Yun-fat. And here it's just kind of stripped away, and in turn just have more action and more focus on Omar Sy and Z, and less of the undertones of that original film with the regret of your job and how it weighs you down. That's not really so much in here, and that was a huge part of that original film. And it seems like it could have been a little more focused in this remake. But I do think that the film is fun. I don't think it was going to be as good as that original film, but it just felt pretty generic when it came to the action and the characters. It could have been better, but it was interesting that John Woo decided to remake his own film. I'm curious to see if he would remake some of his other films. So before I give you my score for The Killer, make sure to check out my channel. Here I do movie reviews, trailer reactions, ranking videos, tier lists, all that fun movie related content that you see on YouTube. I do it all here, so hit that subscribe button to get it all in one spot. I'm going to go ahead and give The Killer a C+. Thank you guys for checking out my review for The Killer. Have you guys seen it on Peacock? What'd you think about it? Let me know in the comment section down below, and stay tuned for more up and coming content like this. My name is Just Watches Movies, and you guys stay classy, YouTube.